I think that's one of the we just we talk when we're on the show and we talk about budgeting. It's kind of a dirty word, right? We
Mhm.
talk about death, legacy planning, kind of a dirty word. People don't want to talk about it. And we don't want to talk about like what happens if we get sick. We don't like we just and I get that. Let's like, hey, let's be positive thinkers, no fear. That's not gonna happen to me, you know. I get that, like I really do. And I want folks out there to not be fearful and scared. I want them to enjoy life and uh and get through retirement healthy, and not have to worry about that stuff. But there is a large percentage of us that are going to have to face those challenges, and it's scary. So if we basically show you those potential risks right up front when we're going through your planning, and we can show you like, okay, hey, if everything just goes great and nothing changes, and I just die in my sleep one day, this is how things would look. But what if, I had this, God forbid, stroke or cancer or heart attack or, whatever it may be in the future, or I get some type of terminal illness or, whatever it may be. I think it's hard to have those conversations. It's not fun, but we have to talk about it. Like, what would it like? What kind of expense would that create? And so we've got to factor that in and have that. In a sense, it's nice when we do plans and we can show people like, hey, okay, you got that buffer there, it looks good, if something like this does come up. A lot of single folks, people that are kind of doing life solo, or maybe they have an older spouse, or there's certain situations where we get a little bit more concerned. If there's a lot of people down here in Florida, even a lot of our listeners and some of my clients that have come in off the radio show. I know you guys are listening to me right now, and I know you're kind of solo down here, for whatever reason. And so, if something happens, who's going to take care of you? Who's going to pay the bills? Who's going to look after you? Who's going to make those medical decisions for you? And is there enough money there to provide for that? It's like right now, today alone, like right here in 2026, we've got clients in assisted living facilities and clients getting home health care, things like that. And you're looking at five to $10,000 a month. I mean, right now in 2026. So, that's easy math, 120 grand a year. What does it look like 10 years from now? If you're 55, 65, and maybe, we don't start having those problems until we're in our late 70s, early 80s, those kind of health things start to kick up. We've got to we can put some tools in place. There's a lot of great strategies, great products that aren't expensive and aren't damaging, and they're really great insurance products that we can put in to eliminate those risks in the future. And so you kind of owe it to yourself to look at that. And that's part of the planning process. We're going to show you, like, because it's really important for us when we're doing our plans for folks to see that we've got some wiggle room. If you're just like in a spend down, or you run out of money, we can show you in our planning, because we throw 1,000 scenarios at our plans. We stress test them. It's called like a Monte Carlo simulation. Good markets, bad markets, high rates, low rates, black swan events, world wars, things like that. We throw all these stressors at the portfolio, and it's going to show different probabilities of risks ahead. And so we can plan for these things and be prepared for them. But it's important to think about this when you're younger, because rates and premiums are much lower. For long-term care, it's going to be cheaper now to put in place. We just worked with a single gentleman, a great guy, 62, going to retire somewhat early, really did well in life. But he's single. He's all, and he plans on traveling and enjoying retirement, but he's got a pretty good nest egg. We don't see any real problems. But for him, it was a no-brainer. Like, we carved out 100 grand and put it into a long-term care annuity. It's an awesome product. It's like a hybrid product that's going to provide for all his long-term care needs, should those occur in the future. Because he's like, he was like, who's going to take care of me? How am I going to pay for this stuff? So he had enough money to just carve out a little bit, go ahead and pre-fund it now at a young age, 62 years old. And he doesn't have to worry about it now. And then the great thing about these new hybrid products that we love is that if you don't, it's not like the old long-term care, which we're not big fans of.
Mhm.
If you don't use it, you lose it. There's,
Right.
those old kind of policies are kind of gone to the wayside. But nowadays we have these really great products. The insurance industry has been really amazing for retirees. They've put together some really great products for folks, so if you don't use, let's say you don't ever need the long term care, and which is great, and you don't ever use it, that money's still going to be available in one, either a lump sum life insurance policy to your beneficiaries, or you could start pulling that money back out and use it for retirement. The money's still going to be there, so you don't lose it, and you get some really good, nice solid growth out of it as well. So we love those plans, and but the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to get. Then all of a sudden you start aging, and maybe some health issues come up, and it's going to be harder to get underwritten for those things. So, just put that stuff in place now and get it over with. It's a no brainer, and you don't have to worry about it. And the money's still going to be there if you need it in the future.